Close your eyes and picture a Morocco unlike any you've ever known. Not just a nation hugging the Atlantic coast, but an empire stretching from the crashing waves of the Western Sea all the way to the mighty Niger River, deep in the beating heart of Africa. A kingdom that defied the mightiest empires of its time, a realm that dazzled the courts of Europe with its riches and diplomacy, a land so prosperous its ruler was whispered about in awe across continents, not by his sword alone, but by the glittering weight of gold. This is no fantasy. This is history. This is the story of Ahmad al-Mansur, the golden flame of the Saudi dynasty, a man whose ambition burned brighter than the sun over the Sahara, a tale of war and wonder, of conquest and culture, of palaces carved like paradise, and a dream of empire that briefly turned the sands of Africa into a crown of glory. Let us journey back to the age when a single ruler dared to imagine a Moroccan empire, and nearly made it come true. The rise of a golden sultan. Ahmad al-Mansur was born not in splendor, but in exile, in the year 1549 Darns, amidst the chaos of civil strife and foreign invasions. His elder brother, Abd al-Malik, had been forced to flee Morocco after the Portuguese seized key coastal cities. Together they wandered through the courts of the Ottoman Empire, learning the arts of survival, strategy, and statecraft. But fate would soon intervene. On the fateful day of the 4th of August, 1578 Tours, the armies of Portugal clashed with those of the Saudi Sultanate at the Battle of the Three Kings, a name etched in blood and legend. For on that field fell three monarchs, the young, reckless King Sebastian of Portugal, the aging King Henry of Portugal, and the victorious but fatally wounded Sultan Abd al-Malik. With his brother gone, Ahmad stepped onto the throne, not as a mere successor, but as a new kind of leader. He was educated in theology, fluent in Arabic, Turkish, and Spanish, and a master of courtly intrigue. He had seen the world beyond Morocco's borders, and he understood one truth above all. Power is not merely taken, it is shaped, negotiated, and defended. From the ashes of war, Ahmad forged peace. From the ruins of conflict, he built prosperity. And from the dust of the desert, he dreamed of empire. The Golden Age of Morocco. In the early years of his rule, Ahmad al-Mansur sent a clear message to the world. Morocco would be sovereign. Always. The Ottomans, who had once aided the Saudis in their struggle for power, expected tribute, but Ahmad offered only gifts. Silks, spices, and letters filled with flattery. Never submission. Along the banks of the Muluya River, the frontier between Morocco and the Ottoman Empire was drawn, marking the westernmost reach of Turkish influence. But while he kept the Ottomans at bay, Ahmad opened the doors of diplomacy wide to Europe. Treaties flowed between Marrakesh and the courts of Queen Elizabeth III, King Philip II of Spain, and even the Pope himself. Ambassadors came and went, bearing messages, trade agreements, and secret intelligence. Morocco became a crossroads, where African kings met European diplomats, where Berber traders dealt in gold and salt, and where scholars debated philosophy beneath marble domes. And at the center of it all stood Badi Palace, a monument to al-Mansur's vision. Built in the heart of Marrakesh, inspired by the grandeur of the Alhambra and adorned with Italian marble, Sudanese gold, and cedarwood from the Atlas Mountains, Badi was more than a palace. It was a declaration. A declaration that Morocco was no minor kingdom, but a jewel of civilization. The empire marches south. But Ahmad's ambitions stretched far beyond the Mediterranean. His gaze turned southward, toward the vast, golden lands beyond the Sahara, where the once mighty Songhai Empire teetered on the edge of collapse. For centuries, the Songhai controlled the great trade routes of West Africa. Caravans laden with gold, salt, ivory, and slaves crossed the desert under their watchful eye. Their cities, Gao, Timbuktu, Djenné, were centers of learning, commerce, and Islamic scholarship. To Ahmad, they were the next chapter of his empire. In 1591, he launched what would become one of the most audacious military campaigns in Moroccan history. Over 4,000 soldiers, armed with gunpowder weapons, marched across the burning sands of the Sahara, led by Juder Pasha, a Spanish-born Muslim convert who had mastered the art of firearms and tactics. It was a gamble, a march of death and endurance. Yet they reached the Niger River, where the forces of Songhai awaited them. At the Battle of Tondibi, despite being outnumbered 10-1, the Moroccans unleashed fire and fury upon the enemy. Cannons roared, muskets cracked, the Songhai army crumbled. The fall of Gao and Timbuktu followed swiftly. Morocco now ruled from the shores of the Atlantic Ocean to the banks of the Niger River, an empire spanning thousands of miles, uniting North Africa and West Africa under one banner. Yet ruling such a vast domain proved far harder than conquering it. Distance, rebellion, and resistance plagued the southern territories. The desert was unforgiving, and the riches of the south were harder to control than to claim. Still, for a fleeting moment, the dream was real. The Sultan of the world. At home, Ahmad al-Mansur ruled not just as a king, but as a caliph, commander of the faithful. He claimed spiritual authority alongside political power, challenging the supremacy of both the Ottoman caliphs and the sharifs of Mecca. His court became a beacon for poets, scientists, and theologians from across the Islamic world. Under his patronage, libraries flourished, trade routes thrived, tax reforms brought stability, and the wealth of Africa poured into Marrakesh. He was called al-Dhahabi, the Golden, not just because of the riches he commanded, but because of the radiant image he projected, a ruler of intellect, charisma, and divine favor. Europe watched in fascination and fear. Some feared him, others sought his alliance. All recognized his genius. He corresponded with Queen Elizabeth, exchanged gifts with Venice, and even entertained visions of a united Islamic front against Christian powers. But perhaps his greatest legacy was the idea itself, that a single African state could rise to rival the empires of Europe and the Middle East, that a kingdom of the Maghreb could stretch its arms deep into the heart of the continent and hold it, if only for a moment. Legacy and death. In the final years of his reign, Ahmad al-Mansur was a man of unparalleled prestige. Kings wrote to him, scholars praised him, merchants blessed his name, but in 1603 the golden flame flickered out. Upon his death, his sons turned on each other in bitter succession struggles. The unity he had so carefully built began to unravel. The distant provinces in the south slipped from Moroccan control. Rebellions grew. Power fractured. The empire he had conquered across the Sahara faded into memory. But the legend of Ahmad al-Mansur al-Dhahabi endured, because he had done something extraordinary. He had proven that a small kingdom could defy empires, that a desert nation could build palaces worthy of paradise, that a single visionary could change the course of history. So we return to the present. El Badi Palace lies in ruins today, its marble stripped, its gold long gone. But the story of the Golden Sultan remains. From the bustling souks of Marrakesh to the ancient manuscripts of Timbuktu, from the treaties signed in royal courts to the battles fought in the shadow of the dunes, Ahmad al-Mansur left behind more than stone and gold. He left behind a dream that still glimmers in the sands of history, a dream that whispers through the winds of the Sahara. And though time may fade monuments, it cannot tarnish gold, especially the gold of a man who once ruled an empire and changed Africa forever. If you enjoyed this journey through history, don't forget to hit the bell and subscribe. We bring stories like this to life, blending drama, depth, and discovery every week. So make sure you never miss another tale from the forgotten corners of our past. Until next time. History isn't just written in books. It lives in the echoes of empire, in the silence of ruins, and in the dreams of those who dare to shape the world.